go for launch.
5.
Quiet, numbskulls. I'm broadcasting.
Anything can happen in the next half hour.
4.
My friend, we cannot keep this a secret any longer.
This whole thing is insane.
3.
Quiet, please. I am analyzing.
Where's the kaboom?
2.
There was supposed to be an earth-shattering kaboom.
1.
"'Twas the fright before Christmas, and all through the crypt not a creature was stirring, except those being whipped. Corpses were hung by their lips and their hair, in hopes that they'd give old Santa a scare. The ghouls were nestled all snug in their beds, while graveworms and maggots danced in their heads. I slept in my coffin, wearing my shroud, dead to the world and snoring aloud. When out in the graveyard there rose such a shriek, I ran to the window and copped me a peek. And there on the lawn was a sight for sore eyes. Santa Claus caught in my Christmas surprise. A pool full of quicksand, disguised snowy white. Soon dear old Santa would sink out of sight. His reindeer was straining to pull Fatso free, and he urged them on as I chuckled with glee. Pull, Dasher, pull, Dancer, pull, Prancer and Donner. If you don't pull me out, old Santa's a goner. But strain as they might, they were just out of luck. When the Crypt Keeper sticks 'em, they tend to stay stuck. But then something happened you'd never believe. That little fat man had a trick up his sleeve. He reached in his pack and he called out to me. Come closer, I've got a few things you should see. And then, though he'd sunk clear up to his chest, he pulls out these gifts. Gifts for me, no less. Here you go, Crypt Keeper. This gift's for you. A dead-rotting ghoul friend all oozing with goo. And a jack in the coffin for hours of delight. Just open the lid and a stiff pops in sight. And here is a teddy bear all of your own. Its flesh has decayed, and it's nothing but bone. And last but not least, a box that's just right for storing your bulging old eyeballs at night. But I'm sinking fast, no time to palaver. Merry Christmas to you, you old stinking cadaver! Well, I have to admit that my ticker was touched. Christmas is one thing, but this was too much. Something stirred in my heart. Maybe once, maybe twice. It felt really weird, but it also felt nice. And then, heaven help me, I ran to that slop, gave Chubbo a pull. Out he came with a pop. Thank you, he says, for what you just did. You saved Merry Christmas for many a kid. You may be disgusting and falling apart, but there's something still good in that slimy old heart. Then he jumped on his sleigh, to his team gave a yell, and off they all flew like a bat out of hell. As I waved, I discovered a problem I've got. Now I was in quicksand, and Santa was not. Struggling was useless for this creepy dude, yet I was still happy, in a real Christmas mood. And that's why I said as I sank out of sight, Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good...
Greetings, my fellow galactic travelers, and welcome back to Planet 8. This is your mission commander Larry speaking to you from our hidden base. Chief Engineer Bob is here by my side as always in the command center, and circling Planet 8 in our orbital spy satellite is Reconnaissance Officer Karen.
And on this episode of Planet 8, we're taking Christmas to the stars. We're taking Christmas to the MCU. We're taking Christmas to the Martians. this episode, we're going to be discussing films that had a Christmas element involved. So straight away, I'm going to talk about Santa Claus versus the Martians. I'm not sure if Bob and Karen were able to check that movie out, but it's an oldie but a goodie, and these Martians can't quite understand the concept of Santa Claus, and through this misunderstanding and one thing leads to another, they end up kidnapping some kids to help them figure out what Christmas is, and Santa gets involved, and anyway, mayhem and fun ensues. So these are the types of things that we're going to be talking about tonight. Some big films, some small films, could be a TV show, whatever, we recall from our youth, or maybe something that we saw a couple weeks ago.
Hooray for Santa Claus.
Now, was that an Italian movie or Spanish movie? I know I saw it many, many, many years ago.
That is a good question.
That was actually the debut of Pia Sedora.
I remember reading that.
Pia
Yes.
Sedora, yeah, she played like a little kid in that. Little Martian kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worth checking out. If you go on YouTube, you can pull up some clips if you don't want to actually sit through the whole
I think
thing.
it fell deep into the public domain a long time ago and no one cared. So you can find it probably just about anywhere. Go walk down the block and find it laying on the sidewalk somewhere.
Santa Claus conquers the Martians? I thought it was versus the Martians.
No, it's Conquers.
Yeah, conquers.
Well, that's like really heavy. Conquers the Martians.
I know. I'm thinking, God. And it has that song, that cute song Bob was singing, Santa Claus, hooray for Santa Claus, dun 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 dun.
Isn't the devil in that? Is the devil also in that movie? Or am I thinking of a different Santa Claus film?
I don't recall the devil being part of.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
Mrs. Claus was most certainly involved.
There were some evil Martians, but
I think it's just something I imagine.
Evil Martians and Pia Zadora.
And that one goofy Martian that ends up playing Santa Claus at the end, playing the Martian Santa Claus.
It says it's an American production. I'm looking at the interwebs here.
I'm shocked. I thought it was a foreign.
Yeah, filmed at the Michael Myberg Studios in Long Island.
Long Island.
Blame it on the East Coast.
But anyway, it's a fun little film if you guys have a chance to watch. Conquers. There was another movie that I watched recently, and I'm like, God, it's just such a strong, our concept of colloquial terms and words that we use these days are a lot different than what was used back in the 60s and 70s. So,
well, people are so tender now.
Don't conquer him.
So now it would be Santa Claus and the Martians.
Santa meets the Martians.
Santa holds their hands.
Yeah, I kind of went the opposite tract.
Where'd you go, Chief?
Lieutenant Debbie and I watched Michael Dougherty's Krampus, which is an excellent Christmas movie if you want to watch it. Starts off with this little kid who's got like just the family from hell, and he ends up just throwing a fit and saying he hates Christmas and wish it never existed, and that sort of calls Krampus into play, and Krampus is real creepy, and all his minions as well. He has the elves; they're all definitely creepy. He's got
The
toys that
evil
come to life and everything else, and yeah, it's I don't know, I enjoyed it a lot. And
I saw it when it first came out. Yeah, and it was interesting, but I like the ending actually.
Yeah, there were like two endings. I was watching on the Blu-ray. There's an alternate ending, but spoiler alert. I mean, the ending is like Krampus goes away and everything's good, and they're all in their house, and they're all the whole family's getting along, and the camera like pulls back really slow, pulls out the window. You get a long shot of the house, and you find out that the house is inside a snow globe.
Yeah.
And then it's, in Krampus's collection or whatever. I think the alternate ending was the camera pulls back through the window and it fades to black, and that's the end. But I thought the snow globe part was much better ending.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
Like ER.
And it was on a shelf with a bunch of other snow globes that I guess we had captured.
Did it come before or after? It was St. Elsewhere, right? That had the ending with the little kid had like imagined the entire series, and he was staring at the snow globe. Did either of you ever watch that show?
What show was that?
St. Elsewhere. Was it on TV?
Oh, God, maybe I'm getting it wrong. This is the thing. As I get older, I start to question more and more if I actually was remembering something, or did I just, completely imagine it?
Well, I'll do that too. It's like, wait, did I dream that? Because I don't know about you, Bob, but Karen and I have very vivid and detailed dreams. She was telling me about this one dream where I had like a green cowboy hat.
Yes.
So whenever I text her now, I always put the little cowboy emoji.
That was just a recent one. Yeah, St. Elsewhere was about this hospital in Boston. It was on in the 80s. Had 6 seasons, but I distinctly remember that people were upset because the ending of it basically had this kid who had some like developmental issues. It was implied that he had like imagined the entire thing, and he was staring into this snow globe like he had, and it had like I think it had the hospital in it or something. And
that's actually cool
too, because that's why I refuse to watch Star Trek Enterprise. The way that that show where they're just watching a hologram, I was like, oh, get the hell out of here.
A hologram of a snow globe?
No. The point being that, yeah, thank you, Bob.
But it wasn't as bad as Star Trek Nemesis, Larry.
Ooh, that's another one too. That anniversary just came by.
Man, I don't remember snow globe in that one either.
Celebrating, let alone talking about that travesty.
Oh my lord, yeah, I saw that and I thought of you.
So, what kind of Christmas stuff did you watch, Karen?
What's that, Bob?
Oh, I was asking Karen what kind of Christmas stuff she's watching, because we're getting like way off track now.
So as we discussed prior to the show, for some reason, the concept of this sort of eluded me for a while. And I struggled with it. I was like, are we talking about, Rankin Bass specials? No. And I was like, well, are we talking about, A Christmas Carol? No. And I was really struggling. I don't know. I was having a complete brain lock. I was like, well, it's movies that had Christmas in it somewhere. So I struggled. I just had a hard time with it. I was like, well, what am I going to say about it? It's like, oh, there was, Iron Man 3, there was a Christmas tree in the back. So I had difficulty with this. And then I was like, well, what could I look up? Like Ghostbusters 2 had Christmas. I don't really want to watch that again. I don't like Iron Man 3.
Well, but see, that's interesting. It's like, well, Iron Man 3. Yeah, but I hated Iron Man 3. Why did you hate Iron Man 3? And do you still hate Iron Man 3?
I don't, you know what? I don't hate it anymore, but I just don't care for it. I
remember Karen coming out to visit, and the whole weekend, because there was no shitty Marvel movie at that point, was to go see Iron Man 3 4 and 5 times in a row, or whatever.
Wasn't Iron Man 3 after Thor: Dark World?
I believe so, Bob.
Okay, so maybe there was one.
Take that statement back.
It might, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I still can't stand Thor 2. I didn't have that bad of a time with Iron Man 3. But Karen was just and so we were trying to figure out what to do the rest of that weekend. But anyway. So what did you come up with, my friend? Iron Man 3? No.
No. Well, I mean, Iron Man 3 was more than just a Christmas tree in the background, wasn't it? I mean, Tony ended up crash landing, and I can't remember what little town it was.
I think.
Yeah, it's in the snow and everything. It's still obviously the Christmas.
But there was no ties to like the Christmas spirit or the holidays having some meaning to him or any of the other characters. It was just sort of like it was decoration in the background to me. It wasn't like it had any impact or any meaning. So the two things that I came up with, I'll do one and then we can go back around. I don't know that you guys remember this show. This was a show that was on in, I think, 1995 on Fox called Space Above and Beyond.
I remember it. I did not watch it.
Yeah, okay. I do remember it. I think I might have caught an episode here or there.
It was a really good show. It was, who was it? Glenn Morgan and James Wong, so they were from the X-Files, put it together. And the whole concept was that it was actually, I think it was set like 2060 or something, so not very far from where we are now. But Earth was at war with this alien race. And they were kind of, I think, building off the momentum of movies like Aliens and Top Gun. And so they had these soldiers out in space flying, fighter pilot kind of things going on. Anyway, they had this group of fighter pilots, the 58th Squadron, the Wild Cards. And so it was, I thought it was a really great series. If you guys get a chance, I think it's on YouTube. It's really hard to come by now. There was a DVD set, but it's, like I said, I don't think it's in print anymore. But
how many episodes was it?
Well, it was only one season, so I think it was only about 20 episodes or so. I mean, I could look it up and didn't come prepared to answer that question.
I always wonder what kind of investment in time I'm going to make into this stuff if I search it out. It's only
one season. This particular episode was broadcast in December, I think December 17th of 95. It was called The River of Stars. And so the basic premise is that the 58th Squadron is coming back on a troop transport from a mission. Their engines get knocked out and they wind up drifting further into enemy territory. And it's on Christmas Eve. And so they're trying to figure out, can they at least contact their ship, the big ship that they're it's like an aircraft carrier in space. Can they contact them? What can they do to try to prevent from drifting further into space? And they've lost some of their oxygen, so they don't have a lot of time left. And meanwhile, the aircraft carrier is trying to find them, and they send messages of hope out to them and, Christmas messages to them. And one of the main characters on the show, Paul Wang, he's on that ship that's drifting. And he has kind of lost faith over the 6 months or so that they've been fighting this war. And, everybody else is sort of saying, hey, well, Merry Christmas. And he's like, I don't believe in that anymore. After all the things we've done and we've seen, how can you guys even think to celebrate Christmas? But then they get this mysterious transmission that tells them that this comet is coming by. And if they use the remaining thrusters they have, they can hitch a ride on this comet and it will pull them back out of enemy space. But it's like, where's this transmission coming from? It's not from our ship. So anyway, they do what the transmission says. They get a ride on the comet and their people find them. And they're not sure if the transmission came from the enemy or where it came from. But they took a leap of faith and did what the transmission told them to do, and they were saved. So it's kind of a Christmas story about having faith, maybe in others, in yourself, recovering your faith. I just thought it was a really good episode of that show.
Was the comet named Rudolph?
It was not named Rudolph.
Was it
red?
was
not named Blitzen or Dancer. But it was a pretty good show. So definitely a Christmas theme there. And overall, I would say that it deserves a second look if you guys have a little time on your hands. The pilot episode is not great, but the episodes after that are better.
That's a nice deep cut.
So skip the first one and go on for the rest.
Yeah. But, Bob, did you have another...
It's back to me or back to you?
Want to share? Back to me? Oh,
back
okay.
to you, yeah. What else did you watch, Commander?
Whole idea stemmed from there was a Star Wars Christmas album Bon Jovi helped put together back in the 80s.
I never heard of this until you brought this up.
And on Bible. You can YouTube, pull it up on YouTube, Google and Google Music or Amazon Music and iTunes, and you can purchase a digital copy of it if you want. And there's this song, R2D2, We Wish You a Merry Christmas, and R2 does, Merry Christmas in his beeps and boops. There's another song where C-3PO, Anthony Daniels, sings a Christmas, not a traditional Christmas song. They wrote a new Christmas song. And this is like, probably 10 years after the Christmas special. So there's no tie-in to the Christmas special at all. And there's like a kids choir that sings a song that had, R2 and 3PO aren't involved at all. But Bon Jovi does sing a chorus or two with R2 and 3PO. So now, that in and of itself is
was this better than the Christmas special or on a par? Or
oh my God.
It's something you should experience at least once. So I think it's akin to the Christmas special. So that was my brief, introduction to the Star Wars album. But the Star Wars Christmas special, did we all rewatch that?
Oh my God! Yes.
No, I did not rewatch that. I swore long ago I would not. But
okay,
I did buy the DVD for Debbie I want to say maybe 3 or 4 Christmases ago. So it is down in the collection now that we're together. So, but yeah, no, we haven't watched it.
You never watched the DVD that you got her?
Oh no, she watched it. I just
okay. Well, how was the quality of it?
Not bad. I was working at this one place, and it was around Christmas time, and this guy Martin, who was a huge Star Wars fan, had gotten it, and he was watching it at work, and I'd walk by his desk and I'd catch, different shots of, Mark Hamill, LeMay, and whatever. It's I just kind of would just keep walking. I know I watched it when it was first on, but I don't think I think I'm like George Lucas. I have not revisited it since.
Well, I have a VHS bootleg of it, and it's a poor copy. But luckily, I was able to find a nice copy, and on YouTube, and it actually says Star Wars Holiday Special. Good copy.
That's the one I watched. Yeah. Oh my God.
Well, I will hook you up with a DVD.
Why, thank you, Chief. Walker, I'll tell you, it's a completely different experience in your adult life when you haven't seen it for 30 plus years than when I was a kid watching it back in 78. I don't know about you, but I was just like, what? You know, the funny thing is, you have people like B. Arthur, Art Carney, like guest starring.
Yeah,
on this
I
thing.
remember those.
Well, the thing is, they were like regulars of variety shows and things like that at the time, right? So they were just, you know, they're like, the people making this show didn't really know that much about Star Wars, if anything. And they're just like, well, it's another variety show. Let's put together a really good variety show. And we'll get the Jefferson Starship. The kids will like that.
The Jefferson Starship. I know. It was like, so you're kind of watching like, okay, well, you know, there's dialogue between Chewie and Han. They open up with, you know, they're trying to escape the Empire. But then it's like Karen said, it's like, you know, a guest star comes out on the Sonny and Cher comedy hour, or, you know, the Smothers Brothers. And it's like, well, wait a minute.
The most amazing thing to me watching it now was like they opened this thing with like, it feels like 10 minutes of just the Wookiees talking to each other.
Yes.
No other dialogue, and just it's just like, what in the hell were they thinking? You know, it just goes on, and then like she's in the kitchen and she's trying to get the kid to do a chore, and it's just like, I mean, I remember at the time when I was watching it, I was like fascinated with the Wookiees. And everything else was like boring. Now I'm just like looking at it going like, what the hell are they doing with these Wookiees talking to each other for 10 minutes? You know, it's just like, oh my God.
Well, I mean, keep in mind too, it's like Empire hadn't even come out yet. It was like,
Empire.
It was like Star Wars, and that was it. So you don't have all the lore or anything. I mean, they were kind of making it up as they went along, but
yeah, and people were starved for anything Star Wars, you know.
Because like I said, I haven't seen it for like decades.
Well, me either.
And it fascinated me how well I was able to follow what the Wookiees were talking about.
Well, I mean, it's funny too. I mean, well, the main thing I remember about the Christmas special was just how pained Harrison Ford looked being in it.
Yes.
You could tell it was like he was cashing a check and doing the show, but it was like he was just miserable through the whole thing.
At points, you can see he's looking to the side at a cue card and getting his lines.
Am I done yet? Can I go?
Like, that's right, Chewbacca. I'm really glad we got back to your home in time. And it's just like, dude, I mean, I know you don't want to be there, but...
Well, when does Harrison Ford ever want to be somewhere? But anyway, no disrespect.
Well, I think the only one who was really into that kind of thing or doing that kind of thing was probably Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gave 100%. You could tell, even though he had like the weirdest haircut.
He did.
And his hair was rinsed really light blonde. So he looked pretty strange.
He looked a lot better in the Muppet Show after Empire, I will say.
Well.
But, you know, look, Carrie Fisher's Debbie Reynolds' daughter, Eddie Fisher, so she could sing. She was charming to me. I enjoyed her bits. Art Carney and B. Arthur, though, I don't, you know... And you know, Karen and I kind of alluded to this before we started the show, but Lumpy is Chewbacca's father, and
Itchy.
Lumpy's the kid.
Yeah.
And Scratchy's the mom.
Something else that really, there you go, Chief. Really impressed me though was the houses on the planet Kashyyyk. They were what's the word? Not drawings, but
matte paintings.
Yeah, like a matte painting, and not a really great matte painting either. You know, it's kind of like a crayon version of a matte painting. But those drawings actually made their way years later into the battle on Kashyyyk in, was it episode 2 or 3?
Yeah, they. I mean, there were things from this that definitely influenced later films.
Well, it was the introduction of Boba Fett, too, right?
Mm-hmm.
The cartoon in the middle of it.
You know, that's the thing, is that if you're a die-hard Star Wars fan, and you have, I mean, the office is a mess right now. I haven't put everything back together, but I have books, you know, the maps of Tatooine and star charts and starships and lightsabers. So if you're a die-hard Star Wars fan, if you've never seen the holiday or Christmas special, however they brand it, you're going to find some gems. You know, it's like watching episodes of the third season of Star Trek. And, you know, no episodes.
So you're saying the Star Wars holiday special is the Spock's brain of Star Wars?
Well.
Pretty much. You know, though, this actually came out in November.
November of 78?
Yeah, it came out in November. So even though Life Day definitely seems to be analogous to Christmas,
yeah,
it came out.
Well, I mean, other shows like Happy Days and Welcome Back, Carter, they would do their holiday episode before or after Christmas. You know, it depended on what the schedule was. So, in any case, it's an interesting concept.
Oh, you were starting to go into that area though.
Oh, Diane Carroll.
Itchy. Oh my God! When I saw that the other night, that just totally blew my mind. It was so nasty.
Yeah, and I kind of, you know, I know things were different back then, but it really went down a rabbit hole. I mean, he's watching this like, what was it, Walker? Like a holographic.
Yeah, so he goes, and it reminded me of Red Dwarf almost, where he gets in the chair, and it looks like those old hair dryers our moms used to sit under, and he's got that hair dryer thing over his head. But Art Carney gives him like this disc, and he goes, this is really gonna, you know, wow. And he puts the disc in, and then he sees all the flashing lights, and then it resolves itself into Diane Carroll with this glimmering skin-tight outfit on, and she's like
a blue sequin kind of.
Right, and she's like, I can feel your excitement, and and I'm excited. And he's like quivering, and it's like, okay, I don't want to know what happens next. I don't want to be in this room. I want to get out of here.
I'll tell you, I never heard a Wookiee make that kind of a noise before or since.
It was a little much. It was a little much for a family special.
It was, yeah. It was very interesting. But again, if you've never seen it, seek it out. You will not regret it.
You've been warned.
You've been warned. But as Bob said, it was our first introduction to Boba Fett. And he was more badass in this cartoon. It's a cartoon version, animated version of Boba Fett. And Han and Luke and our heroes. And, you know, I was so excited. I still love Boba Fett. I mean, people make comments about how little he was utilized in Empire and how he, you know, met his fate in Return of the Jedi, and then how he was resurrected or avoided his fate in the Boba Fett series and whatnot. But I really dug this version of Boba Fett. Probably the best version of Boba Fett on screen, I will say.
Well, and he had that pronged rifle, which we didn't get to see in live action until The Mandalorian.
Decades later, I know.
Yeah.
All throughout Empire, it's like, where the hell's the rifle?
Yep.
So.
Yep. Pretty cool. If you can live with or just fast forward through like B. Arthur's 10-minute song and some of the other stuff, there's a few things in there worth.
Just scan until you see the cartoon and stop.
Now.
Well, now they had the cartoon portion on Disney Plus for a while. I don't know if it's still there.
I think they put it up when the Boba Fett series came on.
Yeah,
and it may have disappeared after that, but
I would assume it's still there. They had some other cool stuff like traveling in starships or taking aerial views of planets and stuff like that.
But that was the only thing from the special. And I can see why. I mean, clearly George, it was a lesson for him about managing his properties. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, so I guess I was going to bring up another movie, but since we talked about that, did anyone watch the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas movie?
I did.
I thought it was a little better than Star Wars, but
That's faint praise.
setting the bar low. But no, I thought it was interesting. I guess it's canon. I guess like Mantis is going to be Star-Lord's sister from now on, but or sister, I guess.
Sister.
Yeah, and
Sister and cousin.
So that'll be interesting to see if that kind of plays a part in like the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 or some other film.
Apparently, James Gunn said you should see the special before you see part 3.
And I'm going to go out on a ledge. I'm going to predict a death in Guardians 3. I'm going to write it down, put it in an envelope, and after we all go watch Guardians 3, I'll reveal my pick. And it's not going to be Kevin Bacon. I will tell you that.
Okay.
Well, I think Guardians 3 is probably the last one, huh? I think.
It is definitely the last one. There was a bunch of actors that said they're not going to renew their contract after that.
Well, James Gunn's over like peeing all over the DC universe right now, so.
Oh my God!
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic.
Maybe he will come back for Guardians 4 after that.
I don't know. Anyway, we'll save that for another discussion. Oh my God, I just have such great. Because I'm a huge Superman fan. I thought Henry Cavill was decent, but his brother did that Brightburn version of
that was
Bad
really good.
Superman. Yeah, right, Bob.
I love that movie.
I kind of have hope for Superman's future, but poor Henry.
Yeah, he just came back and did Black Adam.
Just came back. And I'm waiting for Dwayne Johnson for The Rock to say, well, there's going to be a Shazam, or not a Shazam, a Black Adam 2 or not. So.
Well, I didn't do that well, so.
All I can say, this frees Cavill up to play Bond now.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, there's talk of that. I mean, he walked off of that other show, the Witcher. So.
Yeah, I heard varying stories about that. Some people say he left it because he's got the big role, a bigger role as Superman. But then others say that he was like a big fan of Witcher, like the game and the book and everything else. Mm-hmm. And the series creators were going to start veering away and doing their own original stories, and he didn't agree with that, and that's why he left. But either way, he left that, and then they left him as Superman, and what's he going to do now?
Yeah.
Grab up a license to kill and move forward.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I thought Mantis was great in this. I've always liked the Mantis character, and them going dancing or making money taking pictures with people at the Hollywood Grauman Chinese, and her interactions with Drax, and it was a good time. I enjoyed.
If that was if all that stuff was in like Guardians 3, I'd probably be upset. But it was just a intentionally humorous Christmas special. Yeah, it was good, I thought.
Hey, look, and it was not necessarily a love story to the Star Wars Christmas, but they had animated section or portion of it. They had musical numbers. Kevin Bacon actually sings in the damn thing. So, it was an enjoyable.
Well, that first song is really good. The one where it's like the aliens like form a band and they don't really understand what Christmas is.
Yeah.
And they're just like singing all about Christmas and getting it all wrong. I thought that was great.
It is. I agree. It kind of reminded me of A Nightmare Before Christmas, and the monsters just totally misunderstand what the purpose of Christmas is. But good stuff. Good stuff. So
I do have a movie thing to bring up, so we'll have to go around another time. once again, but
well, there's no rhyme or reason.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go around. I'll mention it on my next turn.
All right, Lucky. What you got for us, buddy?
No, it's Bob's turn because you went first, and then Bob and all.
Yeah, but I just brought up Guardians, so.
Oh, that's your thing. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and unintentionally, that was my thing. It just seemed like a good segue from the Star Wars Christmas special.
True.
Well, since we're on TV, and since I really only have one other thing to bring up, I'm sure you guys remember the Twilight episode. If I can speak right, Night of the Meek with our friend Art Carney again. He seems to be involved in Christmas episodes a lot. But he was a guy, something of a drinker, and would get a job every year as a department store Santa. And but he gets kicked off the job, and he's down on his luck, and he's like, man, the thing I really wish is I could just be the real Santa and give people the things they need that would make them happy. And of course he gets his wish. He gets this magical bag, and he's able to give people, the stuff they want. And he gets hauled off to jail for a while. He gets out of jail. But then at the end, he gets his wish, and he meets I think it's like an elf on a sleigh, and winds up becoming Santa Claus.
Hey, Ralphie
and
boy.
And that was one of those episodes that they did on videotape. So it's not the best looking of episodes.
Right. There's 5 or 6 of those early episodes that were done on videotape, and that is one of them.
They were trying to save money for a while, and they don't look great. Yeah, it
was like a whole season or half season or something where they did all on video.
59.
Yeah, in the middle of the whole series.
But
and they were doing more sets and interior stuff than
and location shoots and things.
Spending money on locations.
But another memorable sci-fi or fantasy entry that we've probably all seen.
That's right.
Yeah, I have that on my list as well.
None.
Well, keeping with Mr. Rod Serling, we all are a huge fan of Twilight Zone and also the Night Gallery.
Oh, yeah.
And there is an episode called The Messiah on Mott Street. And if you have not seen this episode, you probably saw it Karen and Bob probably saw it when you were younger and just forgot about it. But of note, it stars Edward Robinson and Yaphet Kotto. And Edward Robinson.
Edward G. Robinson?
Edward G. Robinson.
Edward G. Robinson. Okay.
He plays a grandfather, and he's ailing. He's in bed in bad health, Jewish descent, and his 9-year-old nephew, or his grandson, I'm sorry, is talking to his grandpa, and he's afraid he's going to lose his grandpa, overnight. And the doctor comes in and is like, well, I don't know. We got to, keep him under surveillance. And his grandfather says to him that if the Messiah comes looking for him, he's going to appear big and black against the sky, striking down all of their enemies. And if he gets into trouble, he's going to be saved by the Messiah. So the little boy goes out looking for the Messiah and comes across Yaphet Kotto, who saves him from getting hit by a car or a truck or something like that. And this is Rod Serling wrote this episode.
Names is for tombstones, baby.
So anyway, long story short, a miracle happens. His health, they think the Grim Reaper, there's a shadow and wind blows open the door and, they're like, oh no. And all of a sudden, Edward Robinson's like, oh, I feel invigorated and I feel much better. And his grandson's like, yay. And the mailman comes to deliver, I don't know why he's delivering a mail at 11 o'clock at night, but comes to deliver a letter from his brother who owed him $10,000 and, paid him back because he came into some fortune. And it's one of the sweeter endings of a Night Gallery episode that I can remember. I thought for sure he wouldn't make it through the night, but he did. And you'll have to decide if Yaphet Kotto was the Messiah or not.
I don't remember this one at all. That's funny.
It's a great. I got probably about a year and a half ago. I got the box set. Probably eBay. I don't think Amazon would have it. Anyway, so I've been watching them here and again. Another fun fact, though, this episode was directed by former actor Don Taylor, Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
Oh.
So there's our POTA connection.
Yeah. Well, and Edward G. Robinson originally screen tested to be Dr. Zaius.
Yeah. And he wound up, was it Soylent Green or?
Yes, Soylent Green.
Yeah.
That was his last film.
So how come they never made a Planet of the Apes Christmas special? Christmas on the Planet of the Apes.
It seems like a natural.
Maybe with this fourth installment of the new POTA, we'll get that. Well, I don't know.
For a few Christmases there, I got some sort of Planet of the Apes thing each Christmas. Because I remember one year I got the Planet of the Apes game, and it was sort of like, do you remember the old mousetrap game? You had to set up the thing. The Planet of the Apes game was similar. You had to set up like a trap. And I think I got my brother Steve to play it once with me. He did not like apes or monkeys, so I got him to do it once with me. And then like one year I got this set. It was like a cereal bowl and a mug with the Planet of the Apes images on it. And then I got like some Migos. So like each year it was like, oh boy, I got some Planet of the Apes stuff.
The closest I got to anything Planet of the Apes was seeing the Planet of the Apes hut play set at Montgomery Ward's with my mother looking at the price and saying, nope.
But what would that thing be worth now, huh?
If
you knew then what you know now.
If you knew then.
But like we all played with our toys, right? So we wouldn't have them in mint condition.
Well, your Mission Commander was playing with a lot more than toys back then, I'll tell you. But
hey.
Let's save that for Planet 8 After Dark.
You can send that to Itchy to look at.
Well, in keeping with anthologies.
Yes, sir.
I was going to bring up Tales from the Crypt. 1972. And the segment with Joan Collins, who on Christmas Eve kills her husband.
Oh, nasty.
And she's trying to dispose of the body. And in the background, she hears on the radio that there's a homicidal maniac that's loose in the area. And so she's trying to, it's basically what? Killer after a killer, right? So when she's basically trying to dispose of the body, hide her husband, whatever, she sees this maniac outside her window who just happens to be dressed like Santa Claus.
Oh, boy.
And so, she kind of hurries her pace a bit, thinking that she can, like, half hide the body. And when the police come out, she could blame it on the homicidal maniac that's in the loose. But she has a little daughter who sees Santa Claus outside the door and lets him in the house.
Oh, God.
Mommy, look, it's Santa Claus. And yes, excitement ensues.
Mayhem ensues.
Yes, right. Excitement, mayhem, whatever. And, kind of the interesting thing about Tales from the Crypt is like 5 different segments in there. And it doesn't really have the Crypt Keeper in it. It's Sir Ralph Richardson basically playing a guy who curates the crypt. And so he's basically telling them all these stories, and it turns out they aren't stories of what will happen. They're stories of what did happen. And they're all there at the crypt. They're all dead, and they're paying for their sins in all these different vignettes, I guess, that they have. But I just remember the Joan Collins one. It was just the guy, the maniac is pretty creepy. And, I just remember seeing that very young. Actually, the first time I saw Tales from the Crypt, I was over at my cousin's house, and you could sit on their roof and see the Sunnyvale Drive-In. So we watched Tales from the Crypt from their roof with no sound, just seeing the movie. But then, of course, I had to see it after that. But that segment definitely always stuck out as a Christmas favorite.
Nice. And Walker, you were saying that was you just had those pools?
Well, yeah, as far as genre related.
Okay.
If you're looking for other Christmas related things that aren't necessarily genre, I do have a favorite that I like to watch every year that is not genre, but is kind of off kilter. A little 4-minute video called Raging Rudolph.
Ah, yes.
Originally appeared on Mad TV, and kind of a smash up of the original Rankin Bass Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and, Scorsese Goodfellas.
Mr. Freaking Fireplug.
Mr. Freaking Fireplug. Does my nose amuse you? Does it make you laugh? I just remember the first time I saw that. I looked it up. It was 1995 when they did that skit. And, I thought it was funny, but I also was just kind of like stunned because they took these beloved characters, Rudolph and, is it Hermie? What is the name of the elf?
Hermie.
Hermie. And, turned them into these would-be mobsters. And then, of course, Yukon Cornelius becomes like Don Cornelione, and he shows up.
That was Yukon Cornelione. That was it.
Yeah, and he shoots everybody, and there's like blood and things flying everywhere.
Oh, he puts that one elf's head in the vice.
In the vice.
And, squeezes it till the eyes pop out.
So it's and then when the Rudolph and Hermie go back to Santa's workshop, they have the big package, and then they open it up, and it's Santa's head, and they're like, who's going to argue? We're in charge now. And then Bumbles puts the head on top of the Christmas tree. So
yeah, because Santa's like, he's pushing ice, right? He's
Man, I thought that Tales from the Crypt was gruesome.
See, I always thought in the original Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer that everyone loves, Santa was pretty much an ass in that anyway.
He was a jerk.
Pretty much the whole episode.
He treated Rudolph really badly.
He got what he deserved in Raging Rudolph.
Oh, God.
Mm-hmm. It was like, I can't put this reindeer on here. You better do something about him, Donner. It's like, wow.
That's how they treated us kids back then in the day.
It was a tough world growing up back then, These kids nowadays.
Larry can't be a cross guard. He's too fat. Oh, okay. Oh, you're going to pull a fat card, huh?
Now we're going to bring up all our grudges from childhood.
And then you went back with a knife and you carved them up.
Who's laughing now? Who's laughing now?
We handled our business back in the day, you know. We didn't go crying to somebody and get a lawyer.
That's right.
But anyway.
Well.
So, Commander, you got anything else?
I have a few honorable mentions. Into the Spider-Verse. Those Christmas songs, I don't know if they ever put them into an album. But
yeah.
Well, Spider Bells is on the soundtrack.
Spider Bells, I know. And I have that on my Christmas playlist, so it is available digitally. That's just a fun movie. I mean, that's better than some of the actual Spider-Man films that have come out. You know, the whole thing with Miles Morales and you know, his uncle's the Goblin and you know, Gwen. Well, anyway.
Well, did you see the trailer for the number 2 that just came out this week?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. It looks promising.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, there you go.
I'm sure we'll be talking about that. And then, you know, one of my favorite Christmas songs is The Monsters Holiday. And I think it's Bobby Boris Pickett did that.
He originally did it, and then Lon Chaney Jr. did a version.
Yes, Bob. And that's the version that I love. I found it on a CD at like Rasputin's in the discount bin years ago. And there's all these other Christmas songs on there. But, oh, man, Lon Chaney is great. And then at the end of it, he kind of like starts, he's like, oh, yeah, there's going to be a full moon this Christmas. Wait, what? Did you say full moon? And I was like transforming. I'm like, oh, this is great. But anyway, yeah, those are my honorable mentions. If folks, if you haven't seen the Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse, where have you been? You need to check that out, especially before the second movie comes out next year, which is a couple of weeks away. That's kind of scary.
Definitely. Yeah, I guess if I had to think of an honorable mention off the top of my head, there's always the Christmas episode of The Addams Family.
Oh, you're right. That's a good one, too.
That's right, where kids tell Wednesday and Pugsley that Santa Claus doesn't exist. And so the family takes it on themselves to prove that Santa exists. I think it was Uncle Fester was supposed to be Santa Claus, but he got stuck in the chimney. So the rest of them, all thinking they're the only one, you know, that they're only doing it, come at different times as Santa, and each time gives Wednesday a doll and gives a headless doll, and then gives Pugsley a bow and arrow set. And everyone from, you know, Gomez to Morticia to Grandma to Cousin It to Lurch all make appearances as Santa Claus. And then finally at the end, the kids call him on it, and they're all the Santa Clauses are there. And they turn around, and there's presents under the tree. Like the real Santa Claus came while they were all goofing around. And you hear him like, ho, 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 and off, you know, riding away on the reindeer and all that at the end. But it's good. It's a funny episode if you get a chance to look it up.
It is. I'm surprised I forgot about that. That is one of... I love the Addams Family, and... that is a very fun episode. So, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Chief.
And there's there's like episodes, Christmas episodes of like Stingray and Thunderbirds. I think there's 2 Christmas episodes of Thunderbirds. And
there's like a ton of other things out there that we probably didn't cover, but you listeners can go ahead and list some things that you enjoy, either on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. We're on all those platforms. And then we can comment and say, oh yeah, I remember that one. But hey, it's that time in the show where we share with you the latest and the greatest, the most interesting things that come across our desks and our attention, and we would like to share with you. And this go round, Chief Engineer Bob has something he'd like to share. Take it away, Chief.
Well, yes. I think, one of the best Christmas presents I could have hoped for this year is a theatrical run of Shin Ultraman. Mm-hmm. So this is, made by the same group as Shin Godzilla. So it's actually Hideki Anno, who did Evangelion and Shin Godzilla, was a big Ultraman fan. Not really something that's rare growing up in Japan, but so this is kind of his love letter to Ultraman. So the whole movie is made up of like maybe 4 or 5 different Ultraman versus stories, and they're all pretty much they stay pretty true to the original series, but obviously all new effects. Ben Furuya, who played Ultraman in the original series, did all the CG work, all the CG motion capture stuff for Ultraman. So when you see Ultraman on the screen, it's him again. And nice. So anyway, January 11th and 12th, Fathom Events is releasing Ultraman throughout the country. So you can choose your day. I think one of the day, I think the 11th is subtitled and the 12th is dubbed. So however you prefer your movie, go ahead and just look up Fathom Events Shin Ultraman, and the Fathom Events webpage will come up, and you can click on buy tickets, and then it'll make you put your zip code or whatever in, and it'll tell you where it's playing in your area. But nice. I think a group of us are probably going to get together and go see it on one of the days. We're in the preliminary stages of planning that.
I've wondered, because of Shin Godzilla and Shin Ultraman, what does Shin mean or stand for?
Shin means new.
Ah, okay.
Of course, the next movie they're working on now is Shin Kamen Rider.
Oh.
So now there was a Kamen Rider Shin back, like a special back in the 90s, but maybe even earlier than that, in the 80s. But yeah, they're going to act like that never existed.
Well, they need to do a Shin Kakaida for our friend Jay, who does our design work for our shirt. Oh, man.
Kikaida. Let me tell you.
Yeah, he showed me a couple of episodes one time we came over. But anyway, thanks for look, and let's give Chief Engineer Bob a hand applause. The man goes to drive-ins, Fathom Events. He's risked his life watching movies out the window of his cousin's house. I mean, this is dedication.
Not out the window. We were up on the roof.
He's up on the roof.
Sitting on the roof.
So cool. I think that's charming, actually.
He's done it all.
We couldn't hear anything, but we saw the movie from way back.
Saw it from the roof.
Yeah. Just interesting side note, when we were in Greece when I was like 18, they said, "You want to go to the movies?" I'm like, "Yeah, we'll go to the movies." And it was Kevin Voight, I think, and it was like this train, ice train or something like that. But I thought we were going to a movie theater, and we went in this alley, and behind the building there were apartments on the left and right, and then there was like a wall in front of us, and they just project the movie on the wall, and the people in the apartments would bring out their lawn chairs and watch the movie, with us. It was, anyway, interesting experience. Well, my friends, here we are. This is going to be our December 22nd Christmas episode. We want to wish you, our listeners, a very Merry Christmas. Thank you for being with us for another year. Thank you for all the support. Karen and Bob, wishes for our listeners.
Yeah, it's the end of the year. Hopefully, every year I hope that it's just a, bigger and better year for everybody. I want to wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. I hope
Festivus,
Saturnalia, Whatever you choose to celebrate, I hope you are surrounded with good people and good spirits, and that the year finds you healthy and happy, and that we have a great year next year, and just we all appreciate your listening, your support, your comments. That's what keeps us doing this thing. So thank you so much for supporting us here at Planet 8.
Yeah, you can PM any of us for addresses to send presents to. And, but no, thank you for listening. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and actually, we'll have some episodes before New Year's, right? Or maybe not. No, so Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, because our next episode will be January 8th. We'll be in the future. 2023.
My God.
All going to live.
Yeah, so happy holidays, and hope that you can all spend it safely with your families. And, if you're into the present thing, then I guess, I hope you get all the presents you want.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again. This brings this episode to a close. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves. Peace out.
On that note, this will conclude this transmission from Planet 8. We would like to thank all of our intergalactic audience for listening. Be sure to head on over to our website at www.planet8podcast.com, where you can get more information on this episode's topic.
For more conversation, find us on Twitter at Planet 8Cast.
Or on Facebook at facebook.com/Planet8Podcast.
We want to thank you guys for tuning in each and every episode. We look forward to your input and opinions. Until next time, this is Planet 8 signing off. End transmission.
By George, he's got it. It is the end.
Let